have you got any horror stories from over the years?
Oh, we've got many.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Interval Conversations. Today's topic is touring theatres, and I'm very happy to be joined by my good friends Vicky Blagden and Rachael. So,
Hello.
how are you doing? So, they're both members of Far Out Theatre based in Sheffield. Well, on the boards, like ownership, but you know what I mean. Terrible with words today. So, tell us about Far Out Theatre. How did it come about?
Okay, I can't tell you a funny story about how Far Out Theatre started because it's actually not very nice. And I've been thinking about, is there a nice way I can explain? But there's really not. So I may as well just be honest. I was a member of a very well-known guild of theatres that are all over the country. And I was the secretary there. And it came to light that there'd been some historical child abuse allegations, which I believe to be true. And basically the rest of the board decided to not, how can I say it? They sort of like put out a blanket statement saying that they weren't true and asked us all to sign a document, and I refused and set up my own theatre company. There's lots of horrible things, seedy things that can happen in amateur theatre or community theatre, and we just wanted to set something up that just there was no chance of that happening, and do something good instead of something sort of seedy and sordid. So that's how Far Out Theatre came about, really. It was a reaction to that.
Fair enough.
Very nice story, but there's no way I can
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah. So, Rachael, how did you get involved with Far Out?
So I started Far Out Theatre. We can't really remember when I started, but I think I was either 8 or 9. We don't really know. I just emerged one day and I was like, hello. And then, so we carried on. My mum used to work with Vic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Vic told my mum about it, and I just started going every weekend, I think.
So we used to do a community pantomime that was for, a family friendly one, and we had lots of children and adults with learning difficulties as well that used to come to us, and Rachael was one of those children that came from very young and sort of grew up with us. And eventually, when you went off to uni, didn't you, to do drama, and now she's come back and she's the director of the company.
Yeah. So, how you were saying that when the company first sort of formed, you were doing family pantos. Would you like to tell everyone how it's different now to what you produce? And we should probably explain the costumes while we're here at this point.
Yeah. So I don't normally dress as a Nazi every day. I'm just so basically now Far Out Theatre do adult pantomimes. Our community family friendly pantomime was always very close to the knuckle, and every time we did one, we'd always have a bit of a laugh and a joke and say we should do an adult one. And then one day we just decided to do it. We did, and I'll never forget, just before going on stage, the very first time we did an adult panto, and I got all the cast together and I was saying, right, I've changed my mind, you can't say that joke, and we can't do that, change it, this is too offensive, we've got to stop. And Rob, who was playing the dame, sort of pulled me to one side and he went, Vic, we've got to do it, we're going on stage, we've got to do it. So we just went with it and we did it, and the audience straight away were just howling with laughter. And it was the best feeling ever. And once we'd done that, I knew that there was no going back to doing the community, the family friendly stuff.
No.
Fair enough. Now, I got involved with Far Out Theatre through a friend at uni, Holly Glossop, because she was supposedly down to write a panto for you.
Yeah.
When she was drunk. But then my name came up and I ended up writing for Robin Hood. So how many times have you actually been involved with outside writers, and how have they affected the work you do now?
I thought we'd only been involved with you, but then I forgot that we'd been involved with Daniel Glover, hadn't we? For one of the past pantos. Which one was it? I can't remember.
He wrote the first adult panto, Aladdin, and then part of the second panto, which was Dick Whittington and his.
Yeah, so we'd only had a bit of experience with writers before, and then don't really know how it's affected us, but we've just sort of, last year's panto Snow White was the first one that we've fully written adult panto by ourselves, so maybe it gave us like a bit of a base to go on and see what we needed to involve and things like that, but doing it ourselves just sort of left us to go absolutely wild. And for me, it's been my favourite show we've done so far, because it's got all of our personalities in it, which are all a bit twisted. We're all very weird, and we're all very happy with that, and we're all content with ourselves in being that way. But it's the first time that we have been able to put our personality into the show and show it to the audience, and I think that came across, because we always have great feedback, like always, people always love our shows, but this was the first one that people were just like, whoa. It just sort of all came together last year, I think.
I've never heard people laugh like I did last year when we were performing. There were times where they were screaming with laughter.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Like one of my highlights, it's because there were so many jokes throughout it, like some visual jokes as well. Like some action would be going on, and you just look back like, what the hell's going on? But it was one of Rachel's lines, actually, with Steve's character. You know where I'm going with this.
I think I know what you're on about, yeah.
The fist in
that's what I mean, though, because that would have been something that only happened in rehearsal, because the amount of times you do stuff in rehearsal and you just keep doing it, and then it gets written in, because like I say, a lot of the time we'll write the basics, go in, and then we start mucking around and all get giddy because we're around each other and start doing stupid things. So that was just one of those me being in a daft mood, happy moments that carried on.
What was the line? It's okay, I'm a virgin too, then.
Yeah, it's all right, boys, I'm a virgin too, and then I stuck a puppet's hand in my mouth. Yeah.
Right, moving on from that. What have you found to be the most rewarding moment for the company of the year? You were just touching up on how you wrote Snow White yourself. That was good. But has there been any other moments?
I think the most rewarding moment as an entire show, we could say the last show we did, which was Snow White and the Seven Whores, which is the costumes we're dressed in now. That was really rewarding because we wrote it ourselves, and because the feedback and the response for the audience was fantastic.
Yeah.
Another moment that I'm always quite, from a personal point of view, I don't know if it's quite the right answer, if it's that I'm proud of it. It was just an amazing moment. Was the first time we did the adult panto. As I said, I was sort of having kittens before going on stage, and then I did go on stage and I said my lines, and I was playing Aladdin, and the audience, I had this monologue, and the audience were literally laughing at every point, every line in this monologue. And I was so happy. And my daughter was doing the lighting, and after the show she said to me, what were you laughing at when you were doing that monologue? And I said, I wasn't laughing, I was just smiling. And I was smiling because I realized that I like people laughing at me. That to me, when you say something, when you say a joke and everyone laughs back, it's the best feeling ever.
Yeah, definitely. They're like the best bits to do, though, aren't they?
Oh,
yeah.
So when we did Robin Hood, like I kept laughing throughout it because I got roped in. Just the question and answer routine got me every time.
Yeah.
Even though I wrote the bloody thing. But, so I know a couple of the stories from one of the last times we met up, but have you got any horror stories from over the years?
Oh, we've got many. Where do you even begin? We could write a book, and I have always said that like we should do a TV like spoof TV show of the things that we've encountered over the times and the stuff that's happened to us.
Because I think the most notable one came from before you put on Snow White, and I think it's become the new company tagline.
Oh, do you mean the
I'm trying to think.
protester? Are you talking
Oh
about?
God!
Yes,
You're about Squirrel Woman,
Panpipe Lady.
Panpipe Lady.
Yeah, we had a protester last year who took offence at our marketing, at the wording on our marketing, which I take full responsibility for, sorry guys. And she basically got a community up in arms and was asking them to write to the council to get our show shut down. Nothing happened. In fact, all the members of staff from Sheffield Council came to watch it and they loved it. So
I think
she gave us the best tagline that we could ever possibly have wished for, which was proud creator of abhorrent satire masquerading as panto.
Yeah.
Think of all the free publicity you got from that show.
His nails went up so much as soon as she started. Yeah, it was that was probably the most dramatic thing.
Yeah.
We've had some good ones, from people getting stage fright on a dress rehearsal and having to be replaced before a show.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I was the replacement.
We've had people come and be drunk.
I know exactly who that is.
Just we had another person as well that came that was drunk, and we had to ask them to leave the rehearsal. And a couple of days later, their sort of support worker that we didn't know they had came looking for them, and they'd gone off joyriding in the mum and dad's car while they were drunk. So we've had some dramatic moments.
Bloody hell. Because the incoherent theatre protester, I remember you telling me, because obviously she sent you that big email letter.
Yes.
Which, you and Rachel came round to mine for a meeting, and you said, "Oh, have we got details for you? This story for you?" It's like, "Oh, is it that bad?" When they mention your name as well. I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah, I think what it was, to make matters worse, was that one of the venues we were doing Snow White, there was another adult panto company also doing Snow White. Their Snow White was Snow White and the Seven. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Snow White and the Seven Ugly Bastards, and ours was Snow White and the Seven Whores. Now, their marketing was sort of like saucy, like a fully clad booby lady, and with all these seven little guys like all perving on her. And the protester was moaning about us, but to the wrong group. And she got everything confused in her mind, I think. And that's how like you got brought into it, and like it was me that put the fake quotes on in my.
Would you like to tell everyone the fake quotes?
Yeah, I'll tell them. It was I want to be in their gang. G.Glitter. What was the Jimmy one?
I can't, it wasn't it just like Jim will fix it?
No. It was something about I love those sexy kids at Far Out Theatre. I can't remember. There ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. R. Kelly.
Yeah.
And my favourite one was M. Jackson.
Apparently people protested. Who'd have thought? But going off those, what have you learned from over the years of owning the company? So what are the do's and don'ts? Apparently those quotes are don'ts.
Yeah, don't put quotes by notorious people.
I don't really know. Like it's one of those you'll just learn along the way, isn't it?
It's like sometimes, like for example, the person who got really bad stage fright and had to be replaced had done amazing at rehearsals. They were a new entity to us, and they were great. Lovely guy, came to all the rehearsals, did super well. There was nothing that we could have known that could have prevented what happened. But then it's like, do you only then work with people that you know and never let anybody new come on board? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Sometimes we have had people who their personality is not suited ours, and they maybe do one show and then we'll not use them again. But we do like to give everyone a chance.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's really hard.
I think one of the things that we have done though, that like maybe has taken a little bit of like a while to get there, is getting a really good base team of people. So what we tried to do last year was when we wrote it, we kind of wrote it in scenes of where people had this base to make everyone feel like sort of more comfortable and keep levels at a certain like level.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you mean like how far people will go?
No, so I mean, so like, you know that only some people will only go to do certain things. Like if you asked me to do something and asked another person to do something, you know, so that I would push it to like the maximum it'll go. Whereas some people aren't comfortable in doing that. So when we wrote it, we tried to put people in scenes where there was always that sort of one person that would always keep that energy level right up. So it pushed other people.
We always explain it as like a level 1 to 10, and some people can perform at a level 10 and really like go for it, and some people are a level 2. So it's like you wouldn't give somebody that can only perform at like a level 2 really killer funny dialogue, because it's kind of wasted on them. And I do think our shows are very high energy. Some people just don't have, some people are like plodders and they just don't have that high energy.
So going back onto like into the rehearsal room and finding a bass team, how does the company work together to put on these shows? So is there someone in charge of set design? Is someone in charge of script writing mainly?
Rachael and I pretty much decide the theme of everything. So what we want the scenery to look like, what we want the costumes to look like, the overall themes and motives that are going to be in the actual script, the show, the panto. We come up with those. When it comes to script writing, we will get together with Steve, our other business partner, and anybody else that wants to take part. Kaylin wrote a lot of the show last year. And then we come up with the dialogue and the jokes, and that's more of a, of an equal thing. Rachael paints all the sets. She might have people helping her, but she'll tell them what she wants. I sew all the costumes, style the wigs. We do the makeup ourselves. Steve will make the props. We tell him what we want and he'll make them. So it's very much, we don't hire anything in at all anymore. Nothing. No. There was nothing hired at all last year. All the set was hand painted and all the costumes were handmade.
So has there been, what has been your favourite show from over the years? No, Rachael, you mentioned Snow White.
Yeah.
But
I think another one for me would have to be Roots and Bob too. Because I know it's not a panto, but I think that was like another one on I think Vic, have you done it before in the past with other people?
I wasn't in it. I helped with the production, but I wasn't the right age to be in it. I was too old to be Rita or Sue. And I was too young to play the wife of Bob because of the age that the guy that Bob was.
It
wasn't until more recently that I was able to sort of take a part in that.
I don't know, I think that was just the first one that like we'd sort of, I don't know, it was just really different. I think that was like the first one that really again started touching the boundaries and stuff and sort of then started giving this push towards going further with like the pantos and things. I think for me it was anyway.
Yeah. We'd done Regis Film Bob 2 a few times over the years, and my mum came to see the one that Rachael was in, and she was she said I didn't think you could make it any sort of ruder than it already was, but we did. We pushed it even more. Still within the context of what it's about. Yeah, a favourite show of mine that we did was we actually once performed under the Open Stages project with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and we did a Midsummer Night's Dream.
Nice.
And I really love doing Shakespeare, so that was a favourite project of mine until last year when we did Snow White, and then that just surpassed it.
Yeah.
So, what's coming next for your company? I know you were supposed to be doing Peter Pan Sexual later this year, but unfortunately, everything going on.
Yeah, we postponed all our shows for this year. They're not cancelled; they're just postponed. And as soon as we have new dates, then we'll crack on. So we will carry on with Peter Pansexual because the set's already painted and some of the costumes are made. So we'll continue with that. But then we're going to actually branch out into the adult panto. Instead of doing fairy tales, we're going to do slightly more darker or just unusual things. So next year we plan to do Jack the Ripper, the adult panto. We've also got a couple in the pipeline. One about hillbillies, and another one about the Irish potato famine.
See, like, I think what we've got now is we've got a really strong forum. We know what works for us. We know how to put it together, and we've been doing panto, not just adult panto, for years. We know what goes on in a panto. We know what's funny. We know what bits and bobs you need for audience interaction. So we're just gonna branch out, experiment. It doesn't have to be a fairy tale for it to work in panto. As long as you apply the forum, you can do whatever you want. So we're gonna do it.
Yeah. And there's lots of other adult pantos now as well, and it's like we want to be that one that's always a step ahead, that's always a different one.
Yeah.
And we are different to other adult pantos because our pantos look better. If you could, apart from the fact that I'm dressed as a Nazi, ignore that. If you saw a photo of our panto, you wouldn't know it was an adult panto. It looks really traditional and beautiful. It's just the words that come out of our mouths that are just really rude.
And
I think that works as
some
part of
costume
our
points
shock
as well.
horror as well.
Maybe a couple of the costumes, but there's nothing. I mean, we once made Caelan be naked for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And there's no nudity in it. I signed up to do an adult panto years ago, and they wanted some of the girls to get the boobs out. Well, no, like there's no need for that. That's not even funny. It's just horrible.
Yep. So yeah, just one last question. What advice do you have for anyone thinking of setting up a company of their own?
Give it a go, but it's hard work.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think things just sort of happen, and it's when people ask us about what we do for the show. I know I experience this with like when I've been working with clients and they start asking about what I've been doing and stuff. When you start telling people what actually goes on behind a show, not just doing the show or rehearsing it, everything else that goes on behind it, people have no idea how much you have to work on it to get it to be where it is at the end of the year. It's mad.
Yeah. I went to an interview once and they asked me to describe some of the jobs that I do at the theatre, and I did, and I didn't get the job, but they gave me feedback and they said there's no way that you do all those things that you said you do, and I genuinely do. It was them that didn't understand. It wasn't me that was exaggerating at all. We do everything from rigging the lights to painting the stage, to writing, to sewing buttons on, to rehearsing, to ferrying people around to rehearsal spaces, everything. But we don't care because we like working hard. But if you don't like working hard, don't do it.
Yep, that's some brilliant advice. So thank you for joining me today on today's episode. So where can we find Far Out Theatre? Facebook, YouTube?
We've got a YouTube channel, Far Out Theatre. We've got Facebook, Far Out Theatre, Instagram, Far Out Theatre. And we also have a website, which is farouttheatre.org. Is that right, Rach?
I think so.
Yeah.
It changed.
I'll put a link below.
Times.
Yeah.
Okay. So link below for that website. But yeah, thank you so much for joining.
No problem.
Thank you.